That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, an important announcement. Reminder, guys, if you are in a Flock Patreon Dynasty League and we are not currently in our startup draft, the rookie drafts start the same night as the NFL draft. Now, this is because I honestly don't want y'all to be able to just look at my updated rookie rankings right away and go, okay, this is who Mason's going to take. Let's trade up to get right ahead of him because I want this player. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to get sniped. So one thing we're going to do is we are going to level the playing field. I don't want people knowing exactly where I'm going to go. So we are going to have those rookie drafts like we did last offseason, the same night as the NFL draft. Now, this is exciting for a multitude of reasons. The biggest reason, though, is that what we are going to have is the most accurate representation of how the Dynasty Fantasy Football community evaluates these landing spots, how they evaluate these rookie prospects. So because of that, I'm going to be live streaming the night of the NFL draft. Every single day, I'm going to be giving y'all updates. I'm going to be talking about what's actually happening in real life NFL Dynasty drafts, what rookie pick you want to be going into, what range you should be targeting. So because of that, I know everybody watching this is already subscribed to the channel, but you need to hit that bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out, you can get that real life update of what's actually happening in real money Flock Patreon Dynasty Leagues. And yeah, that's it. What we are going to be doing in this video is we are going to be looking at the potential landing spots for these running backs, and we are going to be going through and ranking them. I know that y'all aren't going to agree with these rankings. I don't care. They're my own. And let's jump into it with our first team at number 1, and this is going to be the Miami Dolphins. Okay, so I know you hear the Dolphins, you go, okay, Mason, there are like 3 or 4 teams that I'd rather have over the Dolphins, but personally, I don't see it. The Dolphins are in a situation where they have so many assets going into 2021 as well as 2022 that this team looks like it is going to emerge next season, not in 2021, but in 2022 as one of the best teams in the NFL. Now, they've done this through going and having that rebuild process for a few years. They've done this by constantly accumulating value. That way they can make this their win now moment. And what you see with these teams all the time, what you see with these teams once they go through this rebuild, the last piece you want to add is going to be the running back, because we know the running back is a luxury position at the NFL level. We understand that offensive line, quarterback play, wide receivers, all of those positions are significantly more valuable than the running back. But here, Miami is in a spot where they are just loaded up on draft picks this year. I mean, if we go through and look at their picks in the top 3 rounds, they have the 18th pick. Well, they have the 6th as well, but we're not going to talk about that. There's no way you see Najee Harris or Travis Etienne go there. But they have the 18th, they have the 36th, they have the 50th, and they have the 82nd. So if we are going to be trying to determine what running backs could possibly go where, yes, technically we could see a Najee Harris or Travis Etienne go off the board at that 18th overall pick. Personally, I would be surprised if that happens, especially given the fact that this team can wait a little bit and they go, you know what, maybe we have Najee Harris and Travis Etienne ranked a little closer than most people. Let's have someone else. Let's have the Steelers at 24 decide to take Najee Harris, and then we just get our guy at Travis Etienne at 36. And here with our 18th pick, we can address a defensive concern. We can get another piece for our offensive line, possibly a wide receiver to match with Devontae Parker and Will Fuller. But I think the most likely situation, if we see a running back going to Miami that is going to hold a significant amount of dynasty value, is going to be either Najee Harris or Travis Etienne to that 36th overall pick. Or you could see, I don't want to bring this on Travis Etienne, but we do live in a world where it's possible that Travis Etienne falls to the 50th overall pick. I want to remind everyone that's about where J.K. Dobbins went last year, and I would argue that J.K. Dobbins was a better running back prospect. So you could see one of those guys go at 36. You could see one of them go at 50. Or you could also see this team decide to take Javonte Williams at either 50 or 82. And y'all know that compared to a lot of other people in the Dynasty community, I'm not that high on Javonte Williams. But if he lands in this situation where your only competition for targets is Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown, I mean, I think that's a recipe for you to be a 3-down running back, especially if you are a Najee Harris, a Travis Etienne, or a Javonte Williams. And there are some other teams on this list where whatever running back gets drafted in that range, they're going to be a 3-down guy. But what you're looking at is you're looking at the Miami Dolphins, in my opinion, becoming one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL over the next few seasons. So I want the bell cow running back in Miami. Now, let's go over to our second team. I think that they are probably going to be at the top of the list for most people, but this is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yes, guys, I know. I mean, if you go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2019, 2018, 2017, really throughout that entire stretch that they had with elite offensive line play, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were one of the best teams in the NFL at producing running backs in fantasy. Whether it was Le'Veon Bell, whether it was a D'Angelo Williams as a handcuff, whether it's James Conner, it doesn't matter. Whoever was the starting running back there was going to see over 20 touches that game, and they were going to be incredibly efficient based on the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers had a top 5 offensive line, and Ben Roethlisberger was great at stretching the defense out where opposing defenses couldn't stack the box. Well, guys, it isn't 2019, it isn't 2018 anymore. What it is it's 2021 where the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line isn't nearly what it used to be. Ben Roethlisberger, we all know by now that the arm strength isn't there. So we're looking at this situation going, yeah, it's great. I mean, Mike Tomlin has shown that he will give a running back 3-down touches if they're his starting running back. He does not mind using anybody as a workhorse, but what we are looking at is just a situation that is slightly worse. And if we have to project this situation out for the next 3 years, that's where it starts to get a little ugly, because then we have to ask ourselves, hey, what if the Steelers do indeed decide to take Najee Harris out of that 24th overall pick? Well, it's going to be very hard for them to address the offensive line because their next few picks are at 55 and 88. And then after 2021, what is the quarterback situation going to be looking like? Because the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is going to put them in a situation where it's very similar to the Chicago Bears, where the Chicago Bears have suffered some of the worst offensive efficiency, have suffered from some of the worst quarterback play in the entire NFL over the past 5 years or so. But because of their defense, they've never had a chance to go out and get a top 3 overall NFL draft pick. They've never had a chance to go out there and draft a guy like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. They're always going to be in the middle of the road. And I'm looking at Pittsburgh kind of in a similar situation next year. I think that in 2021, their defense is going to be good enough to make them a team that's kind of fighting for that wild card, not going to be drafting in the top 10. And if that's the case, and then you go, well, crap, Ben Roethlisberger only has probably one more year, and then the offensive line does have its concerns. What is the long-term value of a running back here? So even if Najee Harris goes to the Steelers at 24 overall, well, yeah, maybe it looks pretty damn good in 2021. Maybe you can sell high after that. I think the long-term situation here compared to the Miami Dolphins, who have Tua, who have just a ton of draft assets going forward, and a team that has significantly invested into the offensive line over the past few seasons, that's why we're going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers down here at the number 2 spot. Now, at the number 3 spot, this is a team that, honestly, you can make the argument to be at number 1. This will be the Atlanta Falcons. And with the Falcons, I mean, 2020 was definitely a drop-off in the overall production from the running back position. And I know you can blame it on Todd Gurley being inefficient. And if y'all been following the channel for a while, y'all know that I was a massive Todd Gurley hater going into last season. It's not like I thought it was going to be a great spot. But historically speaking, before that, the Atlanta Falcons have produced top-end running backs season after season after season, based on the situation. And I know if you go too far into the past, you're looking at the Kyle Shanahan years, and that's a completely different situation than what you have now. But the reason we're going to have Atlanta at number 3 is the fact that, A, they signed Mike Davis. Mike Davis looked fantastic last year, and he looks like he is more than capable to be a receiving down running back, even if they invest into a guy at the top of the second round. And the other reason is simply they don't have as many picks that you were seeing with the Miami. I mean, Miami, like we said, you could see them taking a running back at 18, 36, 50, 82. And if you're looking at picks in the top 100 for the Atlanta Falcons, outside of that number 4 pick, and we can all agree they're not going to go with the Najee Harris, they're not going to go with the Travis Etienne at that number 4 pick. Really, the only options are at 35 and 68. Now, at 35, I mean, if Najee Harris makes it there, if Travis Etienne goes off the board there, I think that's a spot you can get very excited about. It's just a little bit unlikely. Now, they do have the 68th as well. I think you could see Javonte Williams falling to that range. So really, you only have 2 shots for a running back to go to Atlanta. And while it's been a great situation in the past, I think that maybe 2020 indicated that, hey, the drop-off in efficiency from Matt Ryan is maybe going to lead to overall the offensive efficiency being a little bit lower, less trips to the red zone, less touchdown opportunities, and you're not necessarily going to see as many touches if drives are ending early. All right, so now let's get to our 4th best situation, and this is going to be the New York Jets. And the Jets, yes, they brought in Tevin Coleman. Yes, they used LaMichael Pirine in a few interesting ways last year. But no, I mean, if you see a Javonte Williams, a Najee Harris, a Travis Etienne, or even a Kenneth Gainwell going to the New York Jets, we know that they are going to be the starting running back from day one. Tevin Coleman just simply doesn't have the juice that he had way back earlier in his career whenever he was playing for Atlanta. Now, if we go through and if we look at the picks that this team has, obviously they have that number 2 overall pick, and we can operate under the assumption that 100% we are going to have Zach Wilson as the 2nd quarterback off the board. He is going to be the franchise quarterback for the New York Jets going forward. And I know this is a team that completely changed their coaching staff. They completely changed their front office. And we shouldn't really be looking at historical production from what has happened from the running backs for the New York Jets over the past 5 years, because we know Adam Gase, one of the worst coaches in the NFL. We understand that they kept him last year, so they could try to tank. They could try to get Trevor Lawrence. Now, they didn't succeed in that, but nonetheless, it's going to be a complete overhaul. And even with it being an overhaul, you have to say, hey, it's a very bad situation, just because we don't have the proven track record. You don't have a Mike Tomlin there. You don't have a Kyle Shanahan. You don't have someone where you know what you can expect. So it's a complete wild card with the coaching staff. It's a complete wild card with Zach Wilson himself. So we're looking at a spot where we go, you know what? Situation probably pretty bad, but there are so many raw touches available. And this is a team kind of like the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they're loaded up with draft assets this year. You could see them going with a running back at 23, 34, 66, or even 87. So if you're seeing a Najee Harris go here, I think a lot of people are going to be bumping him down their draft boards, where I'll look at this, go, you know what? Hey, Najee Harris going to the New York Jets. Well, yeah, the overall offensive efficiency probably is not going to be there. He's probably not going to be leading the NFL in goal line touches. At the very minimum, he is going to be seeing a significant workload. At the very minimum, he is going to be a workhorse running back. And maybe he pulls a James Robinson from 2020 and he just plays on one of the worst offenses in the NFL, and he has the pure volume that it just can outweigh that, and volume will trump efficiency in this case. But there's also that wild card. There's also that question, hey, what if Zach Wilson's good? Hey, what if the coaching staff comes in and completely shakes things up? Now, let me know what y'all think of the New York Jets situation. I think it's one of the more intriguing situations. Now, our last team that we're going to bring up is going to be the Buffalo Bills, and I know that people are probably going to get mad at me for having the Buffalo Bills down here at 5. Honestly, I could have them a little bit lower than this, and that's because, A, I do not see the Buffalo Bills going with the running back. I know a lot of people think they're going with the Travis Etienne at that 30th overall selection. Now, yes, guys, y'all know, if you've been watching the channel long enough, we've always hated Devin Singletary. I mean, coming into the NFL, we were looking at Devin Singletary. We were going, hey, he's undersized, and he is very unathletic. So it doesn't matter what these film grinders are telling you. It doesn't matter what he can do with making defenders miss. That profile of a running back will never have an elite fantasy ceiling, a.k.a. Michael Carter Jr. Let's just put that out there. But anyway, Zach Moss here, we were looking at the same situation. We went, hey, you know what? Zach Moss profiles to be a running back that, yeah, he could be a fantasy success if he's getting all the usage at the goal line, if you're trying to get a 12-touchdown season for Zach Moss. But Josh Allen has that Cam Newton in him, where if they're at the goal line, Josh Allen is going to be vulturing touchdowns from whatever the starting running back is there. So we were looking at Zach Moss. We go, you know what? He's not an extremely strong pass catcher, and you're going to have Josh Allen vulture touchdowns at the goal line. So it doesn't matter if Zach Moss and Devin Singletary are both very bad running backs, because the overall situation is Josh Allen is going to be taking so much of the production here. Josh Allen, being a rushing quarterback, is not going to be willing to dump the ball off as much as you would see from a Drew Brees, as much as you would see from a Phillip Rivers. But we can acknowledge the fact that, hey, you know what? At least there are going to be a ton of points scored in this offense. At least the efficiency is going to be sky high. So that's what's going to have Buffalo here at 5. Now, the reason I do not think that they are going to be going with the running back at their 30th overall pick is because they spent a 3rd-round pick on Zach Moss last year. They spent a 3rd-round pick on Devin Singletary in 2019. And that is significant. That is not something you can just straight up overlook. Now, if we were going to see this team do anything, I think at 61, maybe they're in play for Javonte Williams. At 94, maybe they're in play with a Kenneth Gainwell or maybe a different running back like Trey Sermon. But at 30, I think it's almost impossible to expect Buffalo to go with a running back. And even if they do, Josh Allen's getting the rushing touchdowns. So that's going to lower the overall upside for the guy they take. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow. I want to give a big thank you for everyone joining the flock. Devin Strom, Alejandro, Mark, Jared, Caleb, and IV of Lean, Randotron, Micah, Larry, and Tyler.